Hey everybody, today is June 5th and we're going to cover the primary results from yesterday, June 4th. We're also going to take a look at some Rust Belt polling since the Donald Trump conviction. And we're also going to be looking at voter frequency and which of them might be showing up in November. So we've got a lot to get through. I'm trying to pack it all into one video. As always, all the links will be down below in the description. And if you want to skip ahead to the other sections, there will also be chapters down below. Now let's get started with these primaries. There were several states that had action, and we're going to start in New Jersey. And again, I'm going to blow through this data pretty quick. Feel free to pause it if you'd like. And it's also possible some vote could still be trickling in. But for president, Donald Trump was unopposed while Joe Biden got 88.5%. The bigger race is going to be for U.S. Senate. Not at all a surprise, Andy Kim was the winner with about 75% of the vote. He's going to face off against Curtis Bashaw, the Republican. Bashaw was under 46% of the vote, but he had about 7% more than Christine Serrano-Glasner. Glasner was endorsed by Trump, so Bashaw going to be the more moderate candidate going up against Andy Kim and potentially embattled Bob Menendez. We saw he declared his intent to run as an independent. He could still drop out before the ballot deadline. Either way, Andy Kim is going to be the favorite to win this race. Now, I can't go over everything, but down here we've got the U.S. House results. Almost every race has been called, and probably the more notable race is going to be in the 8th Congressional District on the Democratic side. The winner there is Rob Menendez. He's already the incumbent, and he is the son of Senator Bob Menendez. The Menendez name right now is kind of tainted, but the younger Menendez goes on to win with about 54% of the vote. Maybe someday in the future, Rob will try to take his dad's seat in the Senate. Let's go on to Montana. Here we've got Trump with about 91% of the vote. On the other side, Biden's very similar. He's close to 92. In the U.S. Senate, we've got the showdown everybody's been waiting for. The incumbent, John Tester, easily sailed to nomination. On the Republican side, Tim Sheehy, he got it done with under 74%. So it's Tester and Sheehy potentially for control of the U.S. Senate. For governor, we've got Ryan Bussey for the Democrats. He's going to go up against Greg Gianforte, the incumbent, both of them fending off mild challenges. Then we've got Attorney General, and down here we've got the U.S. House. In the 1st District, we've got a rematch between incumbent Republican Ryan Zinke and Monica Tranel. Zinke is the favorite, but it was not a convincing margin back in 2022. In the 2nd, much redder district, that's the Matt Rosendale seat. He's retiring, so the winner there is the Trump-endorsed Troy Downing. He defeated former U.S. Rep. Danny Rehberg. Next, let's move on to Iowa. No statewide races, so we've just got the U.S. House. Nothing overwhelming to mention here. We've got a rematch in the 1st District. The 3rd District with Zach Nunn is the most competitive, but the 4th District, which is the reddest, incumbent Republican Randy Feenstra won, but it was only with 60% of the vote. It's not extremely close, but it is far from a convincing margin for Feenstra. Let's keep going to New Mexico. We've got Donald Trump with under 85% of the vote. On the other side, Joe Biden is under 84%, so nothing really stands out to me here on the presidential side. In the U.S. House, we did have a competitive primary here in the 1st District on the Republican side. The winner here is Steve Jones. He's going to face the incumbent Melanie Stansbury, and she is the clear favorite. In the 2nd District, we've got a rematch between incumbent Democrat Gabe Vasquez and Yvette Harrell. In the 3rd District, there's no chance I'm going to try to pronounce the name of the Republican nominee. If we go down here, we've got the U.S. Senate match set. Both of them were uncontested. We've got incumbent Democrat Martin Heinrich. He's going to face Nella Domenici, and she is the daughter of a longtime U.S. Senator there. So that name does have some weight, but there's no question Heinrich is going to be the favorite. Let's go on to South Dakota. Donald Trump was uncontested while Joe Biden got under 75% of the vote. Marianne Williamson there in 2nd place. One other thing to look at in this state is going to be in the lone U.S. House district. We've got a battle between Johnson and Johnson. That is Dusty Johnson, the incumbent Republican, facing off against Cheryl Johnson, the Democratic challenger. So you gotta love it when two people have the same last name in the exact same race. Next, let's take a look at D.C. Republicans already had their primary. For Biden, he's over 87%. So those are some of the highlights for yesterday's primaries. There's other races, including a lot in the state legislature. Definitely take a look at those if you're from that state or if you're interested. Now let's move on to some polling. So we've got one that was conducted in the Rust Belt. That is Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And this was done by Florida Atlantic University / Main Street Research. And this was taken right after the Trump conviction. Of course, these are the key states. Any little bit of movement might be impactful. So up top here, you can click on the individual states and take a look at the question wording as well as some of the crosstabs. So the polling is in here. It's a little hard to find. So we can switch over to 538, which has a better presentation. So for each state, they separate it with registered and with likely voters. And they also separate it with a 2-way race and a 3-way race with Kennedy. So first for Wisconsin, I have to point out that this sample size is by far the lowest of the 3 states. It only starts off with 338 registered voters. So not even 400 voters, but let's see what we've got. With registered voters in the head-to-head, Biden is up by 2, but it's only 40 to 38. With likely voters, then it flips and Trump is up by 1, 41 to 40. In a three-way race with registered voters, Biden is up by 7, 38 to 31. With likely voters in the three-way, then Biden is up by 5, 40 to 35. So those results are kind of all over the place in Wisconsin. In Pennsylvania, they're at a 1,008 sample size. With registered voters in the head-to-head, Trump is up by 2, 45 to 43. With likely voters, he's still up by 2, 47 to 45. With registered voters in the three-way, then it flips and Biden is up 2, 41 to 39. In the three-way, then Biden is up 1, 43 to 42. In Michigan, we've got a 722 sample size. In the head-to-head with registered voters, it's tied 45 apiece. With likely voters, Biden is up 1, 47 to 46. In the three-way with registered voters, Biden is up 2, 41 to 39. And with likely voters, he's up 1, 44 to 43. So these are some of the key states, and these are the results from right after the conviction. Based on these results, it does look like there could be a slight amount of movement toward Biden, but it's definitely not significant, and it could just be some Trump voters that are a little bit more hesitant for the time being. Just like there's a lack of enthusiasm for Biden voters. In 3 or 4 months, anything that's happening right now might not matter in the slightest. We just really don't know, especially in Wisconsin where both of them are polling around 40%. I think things are up in the air right now, plus this is just one poll, but based on this, it's a complete toss-up, which is kind of where we were before. Trump's support might have dropped off 1 or 2 points, but that looks like much less of a hit than Democrats would be hoping for. And just for fun, they also poll those U.S. Senate races, and that's a familiar pattern. We've seen Biden running way behind Senate Democrat candidates. In Wisconsin, with likely voters, Baldwin is up by 8. In Pennsylvania, Casey is up by 7. And in Michigan, that's the only open seat of the 3. That one is a pure toss-up. Slotkin is up by 1 over Mike Rogers. So we've got to give it a few weeks to see what other data comes out. But in between Trump's conviction and the sentencing in July, we've got a debate coming up later this month. It's possible that just overshadows Trump's baggage. We just don't know what's going to happen yet. But how engaged are these voters that are going to turn out? Well, for that, we could finish on the Cook Political Report. But they recently took a look at high and low engagement voters. And they define high engagement as voters who voted in all 4 of the past 4 federal elections or voted in the 2022 midterms if they registered after 2020. And they estimate that is 52% of the electorate. Then we've got low and mid engagement voters who skipped at least one of the past 4 federal elections. And that is 34% of the electorate. And then we've got new registrants since 2020, including some who may have recently moved between states. And that is 13%. So with that, they find a participation gap in presidential preference. In the two-way race, Biden is leading 49 to 45 among high engagement voters. However, Trump leads 51 to 41 among low to mid engagement voters and 43 to 33 among new registrants. So that might indicate to me that Trump is tapping into some disaffected voters, people who don't really follow or pay too much attention to politics. Biden is getting those that follow what's going on, or at least those that come out to frequently vote. That could be a good thing from Trump's point of view, but he's also going to have to actually get those voters to turn out. And those voters are also much more likely to be open to supporting a third-party candidate. So there's some challenges and some opportunities for both sides. Now we've got a table here with some demographic breakdown, so take a look at that if you'd like. Then it says they sampled nearly 4,000 respondents across the 7 swing states, and then they draw their conclusions. It says high engagement voters are older and whiter than low and mid engagement, but they're far more likely to be sticking with Biden. So that's a piece of good news for Biden. The voters most likely to turn out might actually be backing him. Then it says low and mid engagement voters and new registrants explain virtually all of Democrats' down ballot overperformance relative to Biden. So that's good and bad for each side. If Trump is getting lower propensity voters to turn out for him, he has a great opportunity for them to vote down ballot for the Republicans. But it looks like Republicans have some work to do there. Meanwhile, it's the exact opposite for Biden. There's just a much lower level of enthusiasm at the top of the ticket for Biden. But all he might have to do is court some of those down ballot voters. Then we've got low and mid engagement voters are fundamentally pocketbook voters. That's going to be a bad one for Biden. The economy, inflation, the vast majority surrounding those issues seems to favor Trump. Those same voters also have more serious concerns about Biden's age. That's another problem for Biden. There's not a lot he could do about his age, but the debate could be make or break as far as the optics go. And finally, despite their lean towards Trump, low and mid engagement voters are more likely than highly engaged voters to disapprove of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe versus Wade. So that's one for Biden to be able to capitalize on. We all know abortion is a motivator for Democrats. It's an issue Republicans have struggled with. And really, if you've been following politics, a lot of this is stuff we've already heard before. We've still got a bunch of unanswered questions, but it could come down down to turnout, enthusiasm, and getting out the vote. We just don't know which kind of voters are actually going to show up on election day. The pollsters do their best to guess. Sometimes it's right, but a lot of times guessing is not good enough. So I don't want to go on about this forever. I'm going to leave it there for now. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about any of these primary results? Does any candidate or any state stand out? What about the post-conviction polling in the Rust Belt? And how about these low versus high engagement voters? Could higher turnout benefit Trump? What does each side have to do going forward? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.